Hey guys, welcome back. Let's continue by modeling the facade. First, let's make two layers for the interior and for the exterior. Let's create them under the skin layer as two sublayers. And one from the interior. So we're going to start on the right side from the building and work our way to the left. What we could do is start manually and use the right curve, extrude that curve and manually model our mesh until we reach to the left side. This is kind of a tedious job, so I think we should better use our created reference curves and create a coarse mesh from those. For that, we're going to create a small grasshopper script so we can generate our mesh a little bit more fast. So let's fire up Grasshopper. You can simply do that by typing in Grasshopper in the command prompt and it will load in a sec. Let's start with a curve parameter so we can select our reference curves. Now simply right click on the curve command and let's select our curves. Make sure you select them in the right order because we're going to generate the mesh through them, and if you select them in the wrong order, you'll get a warped mesh. Let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to create a mesh through the control points from all those curves. So let me minimize Grasshopper for a second. Now let's select our curves. Turn off its control points by pressing F10. And as you can see, those control points, we want to use those as the vertices for our mesh. So let's go back to Grasshopper. And let's insert a component called control points. If you double click on the canvas, you get a quick search bar and simply type in there control points. This will basically extract the control points from a curve. So that's all we want. Now, if you hover over the P output, as you can see, my 6 curves all have 18 control points. This is really important because if one of them doesn't have 18 control points, for example 16 or 19, our mesh will be deformed. So check that before you continue. Now the next component we're going to do is we're going to flip those points because we're going to create a polyline in the other direction through those points. There's a neat command called flip, which flips the matrix basically around so we can draw the polyline through all the points. So what this component did is it basically flipped the order of the points around. So now we can draw a polyline through all the curves. So let's draw a polyline. Simply type in polyline. So as you can see, this is basically the mesh we want to create. Only for now we only have lines. So what we want in the end is to generate from these lines a nice coarse mesh. So what we're going to do is we're going to explode these lines. So let's go back to Grasshopper and double click on the canvas again and let's type in explode. So these are all the individual line pieces from all the polylines we just drew. So what we want is to basically loft those line pieces together so we get nice strips of poly surfaces. So what we need to do is to flip this list around again using the flip command. What we're going to do now is a little bit of organization magic. We're going to order them 2 by 2, so we can loft them more easily together. So I'm going to use the shift command, or the shift component. Simply type in shift list. That's the one we want. Let's switch the W value to false, because we don't want the values to be wrapped around. Let's copy this component one more time, simply by selecting it and typing in Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. So now let's insert a slider. Simply type in slider, a number slider. So if you double click on the slider, a window pops up, and let's first switch the rounding to n. We want natural numbers. And let's switch the min to -1. Now press OK. Now let's copy this one more time over. Simply selecting it and typing Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. Now let's move this one to -1 and move this one to 1. Connect it to the S. The next component we're going to use is called the merge component. Simply double click again on the canvas and type in merge. And connect the L to the inputs. Don't forget to graph them, so simply right click on D1 and select graphed. And the same goes for D2. Nice. If you look now at the output, you see that they are grouped together in pairs of 2. So we can loft the result. So simply double click again and type in loft. So as you can see now, the result is a nice poly surface. Well, they're patches of surfaces. So the only thing we need to do is convert these surfaces to a mesh and join it together. So let's go to our canvas again and double click and type in mesh. And the one we want to use is mesh surface. So let's connect the loft to the surface. As you can see, the mesh component divides the surface into 5 faces in the U and in the V direction. We just want one face, so simply copy over the slider we had before, we used for the shift command component, and simply select it and type in Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. And let's connect it to the U and to the V. So that's our mesh. The only thing we need to do now is to simply join and weld it together. So let's flatten the outcome. Right click on the M and use the flatten. Let's type in join. And we want to use the mesh join. So the only thing missing is to weld the vertices together. So simply type in weld and use the mesh weld vertices. The only thing missing is baking it to a layer. So right click on the component and select the bake option. Now let's select our coarse mesh exterior and simply press OK. Now let's minimize our window, our grasshopper window, because we're going to convert this mesh into a T-spline and we won't be needing grasshopper for now. Great, so as you can see, it's starting to look like the shape. So let's select our mesh and let's go to the T-spline toolbar. And as you can remember from the previous section, we first are going to convert it to a T-spline. So simply go to the second button, convert NURBS or mesh to T-spline. Okay, as you can see, not much has happened, but in reality it did, because now it's a T-spline mesh. So now we can smooth this mesh out. So simply select it again and go to the smooth toggle button. Nice, starting to look really nice. Let's switch off our curves. And as you can see, the first part of a building, it's starting to look really like the shape we want. So we can adjust the control points a little bit, so it will match a little bit better with the actual shape of the facade. And next session, we're going to continue with the left side of the building. And that part we're going to model manually. So stick around and I'll see you in the next chapter.